Welcome to Faith and Healing, a space where I open my journal to share the raw and real moments of my healing journey. Together, we'll explore faith, hope, and the strength to overcome life's challenges as we walk this path to restoration. I'm your host, Valerie, sharing my journey to inspire yours. This podcast is for anyone seeking healing, peace, and a fresh start. Let's take it one step at a time. Today's topic: trusting God, trusting yourself, and breaking free to embrace a new beginning. Trusting God, trusting yourself, and breaking free to embrace a new beginning. We'll break this topic into 4 key parts. 1. Trusting God, laying the foundation of faith and surrender. 2. Trusting yourself, rebuilding confidence and aligning with God's purpose. Number 3. Breaking free from codependency. So letting go of unhealthy attachments and reclaiming your independence. Lastly, your new life starts now. Embracing transformation and stepping into the life God has prepared for you. So let's dive into each one step by step. But first, I wanted to start with a Bible verse, Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6, and it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't rely on your own understanding in everything you do. Trust Him and He will guide you." I love this verse. So now, I want you to know that healing starts with trusting God. If you're new here, welcome again to Faith and Healing. So, healing isn't just about physical or emotional recovery. It's about aligning your heart with God's promises and letting His love guide you through every step of the journey. Trusting God means surrendering control, believing that His plans for you are greater than your pain, and finding peace in His presence. We'll explore how to take that first step of faith. I'll be sharing personal stories of breakthrough and dive into scriptures that reminds us of God's unwavering commitment to our healing. Remember, healing takes time, but with God, every moment is a step closer to restoration. So let's embark on this journey together. Trust God when you don't see a way forward. When the path feels uncertain and clear, trust Him. Trust Him when it feels like you're sinking, overwhelmed by the weight of your struggles. Trust Him when no one seems to understand your pain, your story, or your journey. Trust Him even when you can't find the strength to trust yourself. Trust God when doubt whispers louder than hope. Trust Him when discouragement tries to steal your faith. In those moments, remind yourself that God's plans are greater than your fears, and His strength is made perfect in your weakness. Trusting God doesn't mean everything makes sense. It means believing He is with you, working all things for your good, even when you can't see it yet. Now, healing begins when we choose to trust God fully. He knows what's best for us. Even when life feels overwhelming or doesn't make sense. True healing often requires letting go of what no longer serves us and listening to what God is speaking into our lives. Last year, 2024, was one of the hardest years of my life. After a season of deep reflection, fasting, and weeping, I reached a turning point when I realized I could no longer try to control my life or my circumstances. It was then that I made the most important decision of my life to fully surrender everything to Christ. In that moment, I let go of my own plans, my fears, and my need to be in control. And I decided to start over from scratch. Trusting God, sometimes it comes with fear. It wasn't easy at all. But it was the beginning of true freedom and healing for me. I had to let go of people who were once close to me, and I had to reevaluate my life, removing anything that no longer served my growth or aligned with God's plans for me. The process was isolating at times, and some people thought I was losing my mind or had no clue what I was doing. Their opinions stung, but I reached a breaking point where I had to shift my focus away from others and place it solely on God. This journey wasn't about perfection. It was about faith and trust. And through it all, God's presence has been my anchor. I'm here to share this journey with you because no matter how broken or lost I felt, surrender to God led me to the healing and peace that I've been searching for. Now, letting go or letting people go wasn't easy. It meant stepping away from relationships that felt comfortable but were keeping me stuck. It meant walking away from approval I had to rely on for too long. But as I let go, I began to feel a weight lifting off my spirit. God reminded me that He is my source, my joy, my peace, not other people. And that sometimes He removes what no longer aligns with His plan to make room for what will. This process required a deep trust in God, because trusting Him meant believing that His plan was better than my attachment to the past. It also meant trusting that He will provide the right people, opportunities, and resources in His time. As painful as it was, I realized that letting go wasn't about loss. It was about making space for what God wanted to do in my life. I remember reflecting on John 15 verse 2, where Jesus says, He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. This verse reminded me, that God wasn't punishing me by taking things or people away. He was preparing me for something greater. He was pruning the parts of my life that weren't bearing fruit so that I could grow into the person He created me to be. Maybe you're in a season where you feel like God is asking you to let go of something or someone that no longer serves His purpose for your life. I know how hard that can be. It's painful. And it can feel like you're losing a part of yourself. But trust me when I say that God never asks you to let go without giving you something better in return. The second part that I wanted to talk about is trusting yourself. Now, trusting yourself is believing in the wisdom, the strength, and the abilities God has given you. It's understanding that God created you with a purpose and equipped you to fulfill it. Trusting yourself doesn't mean relying solely on your own power, but recognizing that you are capable because God is with you. Often we find it easier to trust God, but struggle to trust ourselves. We second guess our decisions, doubt our abilities, and fear making mistakes. But when you trust God, you also need to trust the work He's doing within you. You are not on this journey by accident. God has a plan for you, and He has given you everything you need to take the next step. Now, the question is, why it is so hard to trust yourself? Past mistakes, because many of us carry the weight of past failures, and those memories can make us feel unworthy or incapable. Fear of judgment, because we worry about what others think and sometimes let their opinions cloud our ability to make decisions. Uncertainty about the future. When we don't know what's ahead, it can feel safer to stay stuck instead of trusting our own judgment to move forward. The truth about trusting yourself, it's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about trusting that God is working through you, and He has given you the tools, the wisdom, and the strength you need for this moment. I want to share this with you. There was a time in my life when I didn't trust myself at all. I constantly doubted every decision I made and looked to others for validation. I felt like I wasn't enough and that my choices couldn't possibly lead to anything good. But God began to show me that trusting Him also meant trusting the person He created me to be. And I had to start believing that I was in a mistake and that the gifts, talents, and intuition He gave me were intentional. Let me repeat that part again. I had to start believing that I wasn't a mistake and that the gifts, talents, and intuition He gave me were intentional. I remember one moment in particular, I was praying for clarity on a big decision, asking God to guide me. Now, I didn't hear an audible voice, but I felt a deep sense of peace about the choice I was leaning towards. But that peace was God's way of confirming that I could trust the decision because He was with me. That was the beginning of learning to trust myself, not in a prideful way, but in a way that acknowledged God's hands in my life. Now, trust yourself is recognizing God's presence in you. Remember that God's Spirit lives in you. You are not making decisions alone. Learn from your mistakes, because I want you to hear me very loud and clear. Come closer. Past mistakes don't define you. They shape you. Let me say that again so that you can hear me very clear. Past mistakes don't define you. They shape you. And God can use even your failure to guide you towards growth. Again, let me repeat that again. Past mistakes don't define you. They shape you. God can use even your failures to guide you towards growth. Take small steps of faith, okay? Because trusting yourself doesn't mean taking giant leaps all at once. But start with small decisions and let God guide you step by step. And I want to say this to you. Always remember, okay, to silence the negative voices, whether it's self-doubt or criticism from others. Learn to tune out voices that don't align with God's truth. Replace negative thoughts with affirmations based on God's word. Like, I love this verse, I am fearfully and wonderfully made by God. In Psalm 139, verse 14. I really love this verse. I want you to know that God created you with a purpose, and He didn't make a mistake when He made you. You have wisdom, strength, and abilities that He placed within you for a reason. When you trust yourself, you are not saying you have all the answers. You are saying that you trust the God who is working through you. Now, if you are struggling to trust yourself right now, start by remembering this. God doesn't give us fear or doubt. He gives us power, love, and self-discipline. Lean into Him. take small steps and believe that He is guiding you and you are capable because He is with you. The other part is overcoming codependency. Now, I want to split this podcast into two parts because I really want to take my time to go over this part, which is overcoming codependency, because I struggled with that a lot. And I know so many people going through this, and sometimes they don't even know, they don't even aware of that's what it is, because I never, I didn't have a name. Like I know the feelings, I know what I've been through, but when I was researching and to finally find the name of that feeling, like it resonating, and it helps me so much to overcome and to understand what was going on with me. So I don't want to rush into this part, and I want you to come back. So I'm going to split this podcast into two parts. So on parts two, I will go over the details, because there is so much to unpack from this. Okay. And also, I don't want to keep you too long. Anyway, so my prayer is that this series has encouraged you, uplifted you, and reminded you that you are never alone, and that God is right there with you, guiding and strengthening and cheering you on every step of the way. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this series. What stood out to you? What parts of your journey are you working on right now? Feel free to send me a message or share your reflections, because I'd love to connect with you. For real. I'd love to connect with you. So, if this series has blessed you, take a moment to share it with someone who might need encouragement, because together we can spread a message of hope and healing. Now, don't forget to follow me. Okay? So follow me on Instagram. Okay, on Instagram, my name is Val's Purpose Ministry. We did some rebranding, so we changed the name a little bit. So on Instagram, type Val's Purpose Ministry. And on Facebook, if you are on Facebook, type Val's Purpose Ministry. And on YouTube, type Val's Purpose Ministry. Let's stay connected as we continue to grow and heal together. Now, I want to thank you for being a part of this journey. And remember, God has so much more for you. And your healing is just the beginning of the beautiful life He's planned. Keep trusting, keep growing, and keep walking in faith. Until next time, take care and stay blessed. Bye-bye.